Hey, well, go ahead. I'll let you start us off.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to this session in the APLC Summer Symposium. I know it's probably an early start for a lot of you, but like all of us educators, I think once August hits, we are in school mode already and starting to get a little bit anxious. So we know you have a little bit of summer left over, but thank you very much for taking your time to sharing that little part of summer that's left over with us this morning. My name is Ted Zeroni. I'm a designer of professional learning with the Edmonton office of the Alberta Professional Learning Consortium. And I'm just a pleasure to work with a genius in all kinds of areas, especially math and science, and how to make those learning things happen in the classroom. Chris Sarsky is with me. Chris Sarsky is with me. So Chris, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Good morning. And I don't know about the genius part. I think you're the one who's the genius when it comes to design, and you guys will see that in a hurry. My name is Chris Sarsky. I am, as Ted said, an APLC designer of professional learning, was just a fancy way of saying we do PD. Um, and my role is to work on science, but also in math and Indigenous connections, as well as assessment. And I've had the pleasure of working with Ted the last 3 years in unpacking the science. So we do feel like we know it pretty good. And we've lived through any changes that have come about with it. So we do have a lot of material, not all of which we could share with you here, but the CPAR documents by far are the culmination of a lot of the materials that we have done over the last 3 years. So I think you will find them very helpful, and that they will give you the kinds of information that most of you are looking for. So welcome aboard, and thank you for those of you who are coming on round 2 with me this morning already. So that's great. Okay, so we're going to start off with our agenda. If you want to just touch on that one, and I'll get into the acknowledgement.
Sure. What we're looking at this morning is how these curriculum planning and assessment resource documents are organized, and are the acronym that we use is CPAR, just to avoid all those words. And the agenda is quite straightforward, actually. We're just going to first of all review the learning process. Many of you may understand it already and have heard it before, but for those of you who are still new with it, we really think it's important to review that process because that's how these CPARs are organized into groups of activities called service, relating, deep, and transfer. And then you'll see below the architecture where those are some of the key aspects of the CPAR that we'll be covering in this session.
And one of the questions in the chat box this morning, depending on when you signed in, was I'm a grade 3 teacher, and the document here shows grade 4. We're going to cover CPAR documents. It doesn't matter whether you teach kindergarten or grade 6. The outlines will be the same. The information will be the same. So it doesn't matter what grade you're teaching. This was not designed to be specific for one particular division or one grade. So you will find something here for all of you, depending on what grade you are. So we will begin our morning with our land acknowledgement, and this is one of the ones that was created for APLC. So it has a lot of the visuals that are from Central Alberta or in the Calgary area that you, for those of you who are in that area, will probably recognize. And again, we'll just ask you to just respectfully sit back and listen. And it is a beautiful one for sure.
If you're unsure or unaware of your eyeglass prescription, or if your prescription changes frequently.
There we go.
We acknowledge that we are on traditional territory, gathering grounds, meeting place, and traveling route of the Treaty 6 First Nations, the Cree, Saulteaux, Blackfoot, Dene, and Nakota Nations, Treaty 7 First Nations, Blackfoot Confederacy of the Siksika, Kainai, Kainai Nations, Stoney Nakota Nation of the Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Goodstoney Nations, and the Tsuut'ina Nation. Treaty 8 First Nations of the Cree, Denetha, Daneza, and Denesule Nations, and the traditional homeland of the Métis Nation. We acknowledge the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples of the past whose footsteps have shaped this beautiful land, and those of the present and future who will continue to shape it for centuries to come. We are committed to restoring and honoring the Truth and Reconciliation calls to action, and we strongly believe that truth must be acknowledged to move toward reconciliation. Acknowledgement of the land is a critical part of demonstrating respect for First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people. As the original peoples and the traditional stewards of the land in Alberta, and who continue to live here, and whose traditional knowledge, cultural practices, languages, oral traditions, and worldviews are tied to their relationship with the land. To acknowledge the traditional territory is an expression of gratitude and appreciation to those whose land we reside on, and a way of honoring the people who have lived and worked on the land since time immemorial. As you think about where you are right now, whether it's in the city or on a ranch in Alberta, in your classroom or in your home, it is our hope that you are also grateful for the land, our rivers and lakes, our forests and farms, from majestic mountains to wide open spaces. Take a moment to imagine yourself in nature, in a peaceful place, whatever and wherever that may mean to you. Now, close your eyes if you like, or just watch the beautiful scenery. Imagine yourself there. Feel the place. Feel your connection to it. Breathe it in. Experience it. Now, open your eyes.
It is a beautiful acknowledgement, and they did a great job of putting all the things together. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to turn it over to Ted.
All right, thanks, Chris. As I mentioned, we're going to begin this walkthrough of the CPAR documents with a brief review of the phases of learning. Many of you may have heard of Hattie Fisher and Fry and their visible learning session or series, and they refer to surface, deep, and transfer learning. And they are the three stages that we go through when we design learning opportunities and assessments for students. The first I guess, step or phase in the learning process is that surface learning. And two things happen often with surface learning that maybe has sort of, at least in my teaching experience in the past, has maybe stopped me from getting to the transfer is sometimes I didn't spend enough time at surface learning. And that's when students get that basic understanding. We really make sure they understand what the different concepts are, the terms of vocabulary, the procedures, and so on. It's that basic knowledge level learning. So it could be what is a concept, for example. Quite often we maybe make assumptions that our students know certain concepts, and so we run with it. And they may have some misunderstandings, and as we continue to go through our lessons, those misunderstandings may make other deeper learning a little bit more difficult for them. So sometimes we don't spend enough time at surface learning, and sometimes that's all we do is surface learning and just focus on the knowledge when really at the end of the day, what we want to do is deepen student understanding so they can transfer that to new areas. So on the next slide is an example of what surface learning might be. Human activity is a concept that if we're not too sure students know what it is, because it could be everything from our daily activity to things such as agriculture or mining. Those are all human activities. And so we may want to take some time to develop that concept with the kids. What is a hydrosphere? Or the biosphere, or any of those concepts. We'll spend time working with those individual concepts. Once we're confident that students have that basic understanding or knowledge, then we can go into relating those ideas. There's two parts to the relate and deepen phase of learning. First of all, it's building those concepts. That's when we relate, or it's relating those concepts. when we stop and think, if we have human activity and the hydrosphere, are those two connected? Does human activity affect the hydrosphere? Does the hydrosphere impact human activity? What are some other connections that there could possibly be? So there's an example on the next slide. And in this particular case, we may look at um, um, we might say that human activity can affect the biosphere. It should be hydrosphere. I made a mistake there. But and if I can make that statement that human activity affects the biosphere or hydrosphere, I would want to provide an example. And I might say, for example, running gas-motored boats in a fragile hydrosphere, a lake or an ecosystem, may do harm to that lake. And so that's an example of the relationship of those two concepts. And that's what we look for in the learning as we go along. Every time we introduce new concepts to students, we want to have them connect it to other concepts so they build a larger schema. But the second part of deepening is this. It's on the next slide. That's where we apply the understandings to different contexts. So once we relate those concepts together, that's an understanding. And that's really when you look at the center column or the middle column of the curriculum, the understanding. When you look at them carefully, they're often built out of the concepts from the knowledge. And it's that understanding that we really want to deepen with students. And so we'll apply it to different contexts. That's really the only way we can really deepen our understanding is to keep revisiting it in different contexts. And I'll give you an example on the next slide. Um, so for example, deforestation may be an example of how human activity and the biosphere is related. And we would explore that relationship. How does human activity actually impact the biosphere or the forests when we do deforestation? We could provide other examples about use of soil or mining or things like that, human activities in parks and so on. And it's exploring that relationship in as many contexts as possible. When you're doing that, you're beginning to make that transfer, that understanding to new contexts, which is the last phase. We want students to be able to take that understanding and look at their world and apply it in different contexts. Say, hey, look, I'm looking out the window, I'm driving, I'm seeing this human activity, and man, look at how that human activity is actually impacting the world. So we always want to provide an opportunity for students to take that understanding, give them an unfamiliar context so they can apply it and maybe change their understanding to maybe make it fit more with what's happening in the world. And those are the kinds of activities that you're going to see in the CPARs. There are going to be some surface level activities. There's going to be some relating and deepen activities, and we don't get to the transfer mode because once you start deepening, you are transferring. So it's all built, we kind of combine deepen and transfer in the same part of the CPAR. Now, there's an example of, again, of how we can transfer that understanding that human activity can affect the biosphere. Just, even students going outside in their playground and seeing how that relationship might be visible there is a transfer of that understanding. So with that, I think maybe, Chris, we can probably take a look at what do the CPARs actually look like, what's inside of them, and how can we get the best use out of them.
Let me just enlarge this a little bit. Okay, let me keep going, or what do you want me to do?
Is it possible to enlarge a little bit more?
Sure.
And one more shot, if you can.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, I think that's better. So with these CPARs, the first page is always just that front matter that comes from the curriculum and Alberta Education information. It's got the organizing idea there. You'll see on the right-hand side, there are some links to other New Learn Alberta pages that do help with this as well. There's the competency progressions, numeracy progressions, and literacy progressions as well as a quick link to find those parts. It's also become part of our planning. And maybe just to note, this CPARs have been the result of many teachers inputting activities, putting ideas in the in this one in particular, many of the ideas are made by teachers across the province. So we're really grateful for their input. And as you'll see, we're not totally finished all the CPARs for grades 4 to 6. We're done. They're basically done. We're just doing a final vetting of a few more of the organizing ideas, but we'll share those links out with you here at the end of the session. Chris, do you want to do some explaining of this page a little bit, and I can throw in some thoughts when we go along here?
So this is an important page, as some of you found out in the last session as well, that over the years that we were unpacking the science curriculum, we were trying to support and give ideas to how does this surface deepen transfer look? What are some ways that I can help students get the attainment of concepts and whatever? So Ted brilliantly had worked on a project of concepts, but also in the background was working on, what are some slide decks that we can use to help students understand some of that? What are some assessment tools that we have? So this one page, I'll pack it in just a minute, is in every CPAR document now. It is not specific to grade 4 Earth systems. It is in every document so that you don't have to go hunt through the slide decks anymore or go onto the website to find where did we do that? I know that they talked about it, I don't know where it was. All of them are here. And it just makes it a little bit easier, one-stop shop. And you're not going to use all of this anyway at any one point. But you have different resources that have been created. And behind here, as I was saying, each one of these is a slide deck or a template already created. There's not, you have to start from scratch. It's done. It's a matter of you simply deciding which one fits to your style of teaching and that you need. So let's go from left to right. The videos that we talked about, if you forget how to go through this document, there's a quick video here that says, how do you read this document?
We'll probably replace that with a new one.
Yes, we will. Absolutely. And the math ones too. For those of you who have the math ones, we will. The CPARs are in math and science. And then there's another version in language arts as well. It's a little bit smaller version, but there is one for English language arts. So this will be updated, but the past symposiums, because we address them there as well, especially for K-3, you have all of the connections to those past sessions as well. So everything is hyperlinked in here for you. It's a matter of you just kind of going through. But on the left-hand side, what you're really looking at is we're in Earth systems. So the video that we did unpacking Earth systems, when we did the videos, we did a video for every grade, every organizing idea. So there was a whack load of videos. They were 1 hour and 15 long. And in that hour and 15, we tried to unpack in the draft year. And then again, in the implementation year, we tooled them up a bit. What's in that? What is grade 4 Earth systems? Like, what am I doing in that? So if you want a quick overview and you've never taught it before, great place to start. Any of the videos that you can go to that we did, the video is on the top on the APLC site. Below the videos are always the slide decks, any resources that we shared with the teachers, like everything is there. You have full access to them. And sometimes that's where some of these ones that were in these middle columns were also housed, but you had to go look for them. And now you don't. Now they're all here. The concept project, Ted, you should talk about that because you're working on that and it's great.
Sure. The concept project is simply a collection of all the different concepts in the curriculum. Some of them are major, like ecosystem and so on, but some of them show up in the curriculum quite often. And when I talk about surface learning, and sometimes I make the assumption that students know what we're talking about. This concept bank is meant to maybe give us a time to maybe pause and say, do my students really know what this concept is? Maybe I'll get you to open up Chris as an example, just open the concept bank. And one that maybe strikes me because I just kind of came across it again this morning. Maybe I'll explain how this looks. Right now, this website is probably going to change, but at the end of the day, it's going to be a list of all the concepts. There'll be in alphabetical order. There'll be a definition and a source of that definition. When you look at the sources, you'll see that most of them are not from Alberta Education, which I think, again, was one of the impetuses or one of the reasons why this was created, is that quite often these concepts are existing in the curriculum, but there's no common definition. So I thought this may be a helpful way to provide that common definition. And so that definition is in the center. Where possible, and this is for that surface learning activity when we first introduce a student to some of these concepts. Where possible, I do a link to an activity. And I'm going to maybe, Chris, have you scroll down to impact because that's one that shows up in this sample organizing idea or sample CPAR that we're going to do. Hopefully impact is in there. Yeah. So the in the understanding and in the knowledge part, we'll see the word impact show up and that things impactly, oopsie, that's I guess I made a mistake in how that one is worded.
Linked? All right.
We'll
Different one?
go to a different one. Maybe go to affect at the top or cause and effect even. No, go what go oh sure. Go to cause and effect. Sorry. I
Cause
thought
and effect?
impact was going to work. Go down, scroll a little bit more to cause or an effect. There we go. So quite often the impact will say, that something causes something, or the statement in the curriculum is that there are many effects to something. And so just a concept attainment of what those two things are is there to help students at the beginnings to make sure they're clear between what's a cause and what's an effect. Concept attainment lesson has various steps. In the first slide, gives those instructions to the teacher of what a concept attainment looks like and what it entails. We could quickly flow through these slides. Basically, a concept attainment lesson provides students with examples and non-examples, and by comparing those examples and non-examples, students come up with a meaning of of the concept we're looking for. In this particular case, Group B is all at the end of the day become the effects and group A become the causes. So these are just some examples of this is one example, excuse me, of the different kinds of concept-based activities that will be in that concept bank to help students um, get an understanding of that. So when we use it in our questions and our learning activities, they'll know what to do. And I want to use impact because impact is very close to an effect, but it essentially differentiates between impact and effect because impact is um, a much more a larger magnitude type of an effect that we look at. So
Just
that's
as an
the concept.
FYI, I'm just going to, before I take off on this
Yeah.
one, this blue box that you see at the top, for those of you who are not familiar with that, anything that we give you in these documents will come up with this blue box at the top. When you click that on, everything that you just looked at will download to your computer in an editable form. So you could go in and add things to it as well. You're not limited to just what we have. So it
Right.
gives you some opportunities for growth in there as well, or to mirror it and make your own for another area, right?
So that concept bank has as many concepts as we can come across in the curriculum. If the definition isn't there and you want a definition for your students, that'd be a good place to go. And the definitions should all be common across the board that way.
I am going to click on another one, and that is the concept maps. And the reason I want to go there is because any grade, any organizing idea has concept maps. And we've heard from the teachers over the years, this has been a lifesaver for them. It gives them the opportunity to go in and just get a snapshot of how things go. So let's pick a grade 3 one. We'll just go into, I don't know, does it matter which one?
I don't think so.
Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. These are our PNG files so that if you want to copy and paste them onto a slide deck or something, the background won't appear. It'll just be the concept map itself. So concept maps really give a big overview and they look messy when you first look at them, but when you zoom in, you'll see that it helps to really make some sense about how these concepts are all related. And unfortunately, those lines are disappearing. Can you just zoom in without clicking on it, Chris, and just make your screen bigger?
I don't know if I can. Oh, no.
Okay. Well, I'll just leave there. But if you just put your cursor, if we take a look at that um, the first concept or the middle concept, or the top concepts for Earth systems or Earth surface. Is that what it is?
Yeah, Earth surface.
And I can't read it. The lines are too small, but each arrow, each concept is connected to another one with an arrow, and there's a word that describes. So, Chris, maybe because you can maybe perhaps read it on your screen, I wonder if you could
Sure.
follow through with one of them.
And I apologize, it's not going to let me do that. Unfortunately, it's going to darken these out every time. Got to download it. Should have downloaded one. But anyway,
That's
the arrows, as Ted is talking about, they will show you a possible connection, right? There's not saying it's the only one, but definitely what teachers found was this unpacked everything I have to teach. And it actually helped me as a teacher look at, oh, so Earth systems talks about what are the layers of the Earth systems historically, how did those come about over periods of time? What are other things that affect it, like water, rivers, mountains, wear and tear? Like those connections are put in here as well, and you can see how those work. And then the same thing here, the Earth's surface is affected and has effect of changes over time. Do mountains stay the same from now until 100 million years from now? No, they change. There's erosion, all those conversations that we're going to have. So again, there's sudden changes, there's long periods of changes. All of these are the concepts that the kids are going to be learning, but this is a step forward for you to help unpack it with them or for yourself for planning. And Ted will be the first one to say it's a vision of how it works, but it doesn't mean it has to be the vision. It could be you might want to take these and rearrange them and connect it differently because you see it differently, or maybe you live in a different area where something would get a bigger priority to start with. That's up to you to decide.
Mhm.
These maps have been one of the things that we get asked for a lot. Where's the concept map for it? Because it does help to unpack it. The concept progressions, again, we're not going to go into all of this. You'll have lots of time to go in and click these later, but that just gives you a whole idea of what's happening in the world of Earth systems from kindergarten right through to grade 6. So it gives you almost like your curriculum document is where you have the knowledge, skills, and understandings, and you have more than one grade on a page. Here you have all of the concepts, the big rocks that occurred in each one of those grades in Earth systems. So you can see how it builds right across. And those have been done for every grade or for every organizing idea. All the grades are on one of them. Okay, the verb and skills, those skills that we have in our curriculum, remember that the verbs are really important, and Ted's already talked about a couple of them, like affect, impact, relate is a big one that we just talked about in another session. Those verbs have to be taught to students as what do they mean? And what are you expecting me as a child to show you when I give you a response? So that's going to be really, really important for them, okay? I'm not sure what link you guys are looking for. Can you give me a sense of what that is in the chat box? So these are all downloadable. And again, we would save those to your computers. We suggest keeping that verb document so that you're giving the same definition that any teacher in the province is using. And then you can unpack it from there as well. Okay.
Maybe to answer Chris's question, there are the links for K-3 CPARs are in the APLC website. So you can go there and Google that. You'll find that there. We didn't share any link just yet. Oh, I see someone, Vanessa's gotten out that up there. Thank you. Um, um, so those are, we haven't shared any links just yet other than what's on the page. So
Okay. Anything else on here that you want to cover, Ted?
just maybe if you can just show the headings of the of the
Absolutely.
table again here. Right. So you could see that beside introductory resources, there's a double column that has thinking skills, procedures. So again, these are some surface learning activities to introduce some of those skills and procedures that Chris just referred to when we're talking about those key verbs. So quite often you'll see the verb analyzing. And if if you haven't, when analyzing begins in grade 1, and if your students aren't familiar with what analyzing means, you want to stop at the surface level and talk, well, what's an analysis? And once students know what an analysis is, then they can be better at analyzing and know what to do. And you say, and let's analyze this. Even with something as simple as a discussion, which is further down, um, we need to stop at the surface level and talk about what it means to discuss. What is a discussion? What does it look like? What does it sound like? What role do we play when we're discussing? So it's some of those surface level activities in terms of processes and skills that appears in these first two columns. The third column are instructional templates. So if you wanted to make a Frayer model, there's a template there. If you want to do a notice and wonder, there is these are blank templates that you can take and work with and redesign or use them as is to work with your students. We're using instructional templates if we're teaching kids about predicting. Well, there is an instructional template there as well. And the final column are the assessment templates. I've just talked about discussion. If I was going to now give my students some feedback, I'm going to give them activities so they can demonstrate or use their discussion skills. Then I'm going to give them some feedback. I could use a checklist like I have there, or they could use that checklist for a self-evaluation there too. So those are just blank assessment templates on that last column there.
Yeah, computing science is an area that we still hear. I do not know what to do with computing science. I'm not a computing science person. That's an option in our junior high, and I don't know what to do with that. So a couple of things. As we unpacked each of the grades, each of the organizing ideas, we also had a colleague, engineering, who created a mini video, mini slide deck of a lesson that you could tangibly just take the lesson. So for example, grade 4 Earth Systems, she has a computing science one that fits directly to what you're teaching in Earth Systems. And you have full ability to use that in any way you wish if you're not into computing science, right? If that's just not your wheelhouse yet and that's not an area you feel comfortable, those have already been created for you. Ange is doing sessions at the symposium. She will unpack in very easy steps what this actually is all about. And so I would encourage you to have a look at some of what she's doing as well, because she'll share a lot more in there. But in every CPAR document is her video, is her slide deck, the lesson that she created for you. So you have access to all of those at any point in time. And then the scientific method, Nicole Lamoureux was one of our consultants last year that worked with us as well. And she was working on what is the scientific method in K-6. And there isn't a formal statement for K and 1, although lots of teachers have already introduced it in grade 1. It formally gets taught in grade 2. So for those of you brand new to science, you need to know that as a grade 5 teacher or grade 6 teacher, if they have not done any work in the scientific method, and hopefully they have coming to you, you have to go back to grade 2 and start there, because that's where the initial steps are unpacked. And then it builds on those steps for every grade. So it's not like you can just say there's 5 steps or 7 steps and that's all I have to do. There's expectations that grow over the years that we do. Remember, every year builds in the concepts that you're doing. And the same thing here. So you have lots of things that you can click on here and just go through and have a look at what's already been done. Nicole also has lots of videos that we posted on the APLC website that you'd be able to access as well. Ted, anything else in those two?
No, that sounds good, Chris. No, a lot of resources there that those two individuals have provided for us.
Okay, the next section is, this is just a review of what surface deepened transfer is. If you wanted just to get a bit of a review, again, I heard a whole bunch of stuff today for the first time. I don't remember what it was all about. So this video will give you that background knowledge, again, very similar to what Ted already covered with you. And then where possible, we had given you a sample. That's all it is. Nothing in the CPAR document is required. Nothing here is that you have to do this document. This document was created at the sort of the frustration of no resources at the time for anyone. So using the brains, as Ted said, of many, many teachers and supports of school boards, putting stuff together is an important piece here. So this is really what this is all about. And so we've given you a sample that you could use. You can choose to use it. You could just read it and say, I don't like that, or I want to add to it. Yep, do that, whatever. You use it whatever way you want, but it could serve as your sample assessment for grade 4 Earth systems in this particular case. And I'm just going to stop just for a second. You'll see that these say in progress everywhere. These are living documents. So even when all of them are posted, and the K to 3s are already posted and have been for a year, we will go in and edit those and add to them. So this is not ever going to be done. These are documents that as people find more things and more things come up that people, oh, I found this would be really great for the CPAR documents to share out, we'll add in. So that's an FYI for all of you as you are planning. If you found something that's really strong and really good for you, share it with us and we will put it into the document so that your colleagues have it as well. So this is an example of one of the concept maps. Ted, anything you want to say here?
No, and all the CPARs don't have one in there. I just put this one in there when you read through it. It's just one way that that may be helpful to organize your work in this particular way because it's the organization, I think, in the way the knowledge is presented in the curriculum kind of flows back and forth. And I think if you have this map in front of you, it may help pick and choose what knowledge and understanding you're working on and the order that you'll want to present them in. So that's why I included that there.
Okay, I'm going to take it on from here.
Um, sure. Quite often when we're doing these planning for our students, we have to kind of consider a little bit of what they need to know before we enter a unit plan and tackle an organizing idea. So that's the prerequisite knowledge. There's always that section there that tells us what kids should know coming into this. And that may set up a chance for you to set up some pre-assessments to see what they do know. And if they don't know the prerequisite knowledge, there may be some back teaching that has to happen. And just being aware of some misconceptions that students may have and sort of keep your eyes and ears open for them to see if any of these misconceptions come out of students' mouths when they're talking and having discussions about certain things and providing an opportunity to correct them. This page also has a list of all those key concepts and some of the key vocabulary within this particular cusp. And again, there's a link to that concept bank. Now, I should point out at the top of this, you'll see there's links to 3 different cusps. What we're going to do is we're just going to go spend a lot of time just looking at this first cusp line. And just wanted to remind you as well that with each understanding or each cusp line, there will be this series of pages that Chris and I are going to go through right now. So for Earth Systems cusp line 1, you'll see a page that looks like this. If you clicked on Earth Systems 2, you'll see a page for Earth Systems cusp line 2 and so on. So there's lots of information, especially as grade 4, and I think there's 7 cusp lines. So this is jam-packed with stuff for sure.
And that's an important thing to note what Ted just said. This is only one cusp, one row of knowledge, understanding, skill, and procedures that you're going to get, that we're going to go through. So if you have 7, which you do in Earth Systems, there are 7 versions of this, all of them different because each one of those rows of knowledge, understanding, skills, and procedures have different expectations. So the more that you have, the bigger these documents get. They're huge.
The I know and I can't statements are there for those of you who may need to include those in reporting purposes and so on. What we've just done is taken the knowledge statements, the understandings, and the skills and procedure statements and turn them into I can statements. So you can use that to help with your assessments if you want. Okay, what Chris just turned to is the first cusp line of grade 4 Earth systems. And you'll notice if you take a look on the left in the brown columns, that's the information that comes out of the curriculum. You'll notice what's not there is the understanding and the skills and procedure. Because as we mentioned, this document follows the surface, deep and transfer process of learning. So the knowledge is really a lot of the surface level. In this particular case, some of the knowledge is lithosphere. It's just what is it? What is the lithosphere? What is the atmosphere? What is the hydrosphere? And so when we talk about the connections of them, we could do that a little bit later. That's when we start getting into the relating and the deepening thing. So you'll see our sample surface level activities focus on those particular knowledge pieces from the knowledge, hydrosphere, atmosphere, lithosphere, and so on. And then there's some activities that can help to introduce and explain those particular spheres in this case. Now, when you can keep going, Chris, unless you have something to add.
No, I was just going to say if you want to talk about the
Oh.
last column as well.
For sure. Where possible, what we're throwing in are some sample assessment activities. In this particular case, with the service level. So these, what we're trying to do is align any assessments we have as being in either a surface level assessment or maybe a deeper assessment. Again, the surface level is just that knowledge base to make sure students understand what atmosphere is in this case, lithosphere, hydrosphere, and so on, what are the characteristics of it, and so on. Um, the assessments are still being worked on. There's more that should be added in these CPARs, but right now we've got what we have in here. And so feel free to click on those. I think a lot of them are downloadable. They can be changed or altered in any way that maybe fits your teaching style or your classroom needs as well.
But the key piece too is the word formative that sits under there. These are formatives. Are they getting it? Like, this is not about marking. This is not about giving me a mark and everything here gets marked. This is about they're getting it. They're getting the language. They're starting to make those connections. I'm having to give them less feedback, right? That's the kind of thing that you're looking for when you're using those formatives on this side.
And most of what you'll find are formatives in the CPAR.
Yeah.
So. Now you'll notice on the left that we have the understanding show up. So we've just spent the first part of that surface learning or that knowledge part focusing on lithosphere and so on. Now we see how Earth systems interact with one another and developing that understanding. When you look at the understanding, there's now suddenly the word systems that appears. And so it may be worthwhile to take some time in this particular case to say, well, what is a system? And a system is simply something that works together, and that something has many parts that work together to make it happen. So we've got um, Earth systems, we've got the circulatory system, we've got a bike as a system. It's got pedals and chains and wheels and so on. So it's taking a look at parts that work together to reach some kind of function or goal. Again, there's a sample concept attainment activity. I'm just going to point this out again, just to remind people, we're working at the surface level. We're talking about the interconnection of the different spheres. And interconnection can be a big word if students have never come across before, or they may many misconceptions about what interconnection is. So if that might be a concern you have, then you want to highlight that as part of the part of your teaching and stop and talk about what are interconnection. In this particular case, what are interactions? So see, we're just building that surface level learning because we're going to be using these words through the rest of the organizing idea. So we want students to be comfortable with it. So make sure that they're on the same track with us as well. Go ahead, Chris. You want to keep going with the
Sure.
deepening?
And you can see how this is growing, right? Now that we're into the deep end, there's lots of opportunities in there. You're starting to move into some of those connections that we want the students to start making. And as we said at the beginning, there's a lot of info in here. Do not think for 1 minute that you have to go through and pick everything out of here and use it all. To pick what's going to work with you. What's your unit going to be? And is there something in here that already fits into that unit? Use it. That's the whole idea. This is here for you to use, not just to, oh, that's nice, but it's copyright. No, it's not. You can use anything that's in here, adjust it, do whatever you need to do, unless it's attached to a website. But that's the purpose behind this, is in the absence of a full resource, what do I have? Now, having said that, I don't want it to make it sound like because there's no resource that that's always a negative. There are lots of people celebrating the fact that I can take Earth systems, read the outcomes, and I get to, as a teacher, design what would make sense to my kids where I live with them in the prairies, or I live in the mountains, or I live wherever, right? That they can connect it specifically to where you live. And that's a real bonus, right? Because now I've got things that are tangibly at my back door that I can start to use. So there is bonuses to having it open like this, for sure. So you've got lots in here. You will never use all of those in your wildest dreams. Infusing Indigenous knowledge. Now, those of you who are with me in the other session, we looked at a website. This is the website here. This website looks at what's available in grade 4 science. This is not specific to Earth systems, but Earth systems can be identified in there. And in that slide, or in that site, they will give you activities to do that are related to First Nations and connections to the outcome. If there's nothing in the activity column, it means that there just was nothing there that could be legitimately connected. It would be contrived. And so it was left. And that's done by Elder Jason, who really works on this all the time and does a great job. And one of our colleagues, Kim Barker-Kay, who's also working on those. And they're just continuously feeding. But there is more than just the outcomes that are stated in your curriculum in there. So if you want to make those infusions, I would say, as a planner, I would always make that my first check. What's in there that I could use? Even if it didn't say do a First Nations connect, is there something in there that Elder Jason found that fits to this statement in the cusp? I'm going to use it. Infusing it wherever you can. Okay, so that's kind of the piece. And you'll always find the infusing of Indigenous knowledge in green in that center column so that you can see where it is very quickly. Okay, that takes us to the bottom half of the cusp information that you just got. Every bottom half will have this. So this is going to get repeated over and over, but it will be specific to what you just taught. So there are some additional websites in here that you'll see that support learning. You also have a section called specific, and I want to be really clear on what's in there. And this is the one that takes us a while to put together. Specific refers to anything that helps me teach the cusp that I just finished or that I'm working on. So again, if you're looking to build things, come down to specific, because everything in here is about Earth systems or whatever it was I was unpacking in that cusp. When you come below that, there's a section called general. General has some things that might fit to the cusp I just taught, or in general, it's a great one for you to go to and see if there's other things that you want to pull off of there. So that's why it's not as specific. You don't see specific words linked in there like you did up there. This is a little bit more general, but they're the ones that I find are good stopping points for teachers when they're looking for science resources. I have a whole bunch more that I could add in here now, but they're good sound places to find materials if you're looking for something, or you went through ours and said, this doesn't fit with what I want to do. Then maybe you want to look down there and see if there's something there. But this, again, all of the ones that are listed here, you are never going to use all those, right? You might find that I really like PBS. I really like the NG Science. Every time I go there, I like those. Maybe those become your go-tos. And you just start to narrow your field down a little bit, and you only go to the other ones when you have to. All of this stuff that's been put in here is just there for your resources as you need them. But don't reinvent the wheel and start from scratch and make a lesson plan. Go see what's there first, because we've pretty much covered the gambit in what you need. There are also other school divisions that shared while we were doing the draft and the pilot year. Edmonton Catholic has shared out all of the resources that they created, the lesson plans, the whole bit. You've got it all. So the pacing guides are kind of the lesson plans that they did. And then the curriculum crates are usually 2 PBLs. So again, maybe you want to use that as an assessment. They're there. Look at them and just see if that fits what you want to do. There are some snippets, scope and sequence things that were done. I'm not going to go through all of these, but these are all in here that school boards are willing to share, and you have access to them. You have the rights to use them, so feel free. Okay, anything that's looking for differentiation, if you're looking for some ideas for differentiation, this is a great one in here that you might want to have a look at. And then some school boards have been asking about science kits. Well, because of the openness of this curriculum, it's not like you had before. You don't get this box, which has everything in it, and then you just shove it in the corner and say, that one's done, let's go to the next one. Because how I do it, how Ted does it, how Anne does it from wherever Anne's living, could be very different. So what I need in my box would look very different. But what was done was Grand Prairie put together a list, and they're saying, here's all the things, if you needed to order something, here's where you might get it. It is not a click the list, order it all, because you'll never use all that stuff, I guarantee you. And as a principal, I hated it when we ordered a bunch of stuff and it just sits on a shelf and nobody uses it. So look at what do you need in your school? Do you have magnets? If you have magnets, are they a variety of different sizes of magnets? Maybe that's what you need, right? Those are things that all of you are going to use. But just use that list as you need it. We also have some agreements with other countries, the United Kingdom, New Zealand, and Australia. And if we found in those areas that they had material that matched what you were teaching, we have included it. So for example, in here, Core Knowledge had a teacher's guide to readers and the outline, the online resource. This is a mini book for children that you could actually photocopy if you want, but you also have the right just to use a couple of pages and you're not breaking copyright. So I would check always down here first and see what's there. If there's one of these sitting here, open them because they're amazing. And that might just be part of your lesson plan right there that you want to use. The teacher's guides are huge. Don't just click on the link and hit print because you're going to be printing 300 pages. Find out what you want out of there. But they have assessment questions, PowerPoints, like you name it, they made it. And that's where you'll find the PowerPoints. What they provided for their teachers was amazing, and they're willing for us to use it. So again, leverage some of those. They're all linked for you at the bottom, if I can find one. If they're not a match, then we don't put them in here. The other one is gizmos. If you've never done a gizmo before, there are lots of sessions. Karen is going to be at the symposium doing some as well, but they are amazing interactive science stopping points. They have them for math as well. And Karen will go in and hyperlink where there are some that fit and where there are some that don't fit. So those will be other important pieces that you might want to have a look at as well. And so that's one row, just one row of knowledge, understanding, skill, and procedure. So now comes row number 2. And we go through the same thing, all new knowledge, all new vocabulary, all new I can statements, all new samples, all new formatives, etc., etc. So again, the more rows you have, the more information is in this document. Ted, anything else before I get to the end?
No, and you can see as Chris is scrolling through that, the amount of information that goes with each understanding or each cusp line there's a lot there. And as you mentioned, it'll be impossible to use it all, or you'll be stuck on one cusp line for half your time, and that would not be what we intend for sure.
So when
Now,
you see a highlight like that,
right, if you see a highlight like that, ignore it right now. It should have been de-highlighted if it hasn't. So, or it may be still being, it may be require some edit on our end. So just be cautious when you see something that's highlighted like that.
yeah, highlighted in yellow and green just as things that we worked on with teams of teachers, and there are still some things that are highlighted. You won't find these on the website because these have not been posted for 4 to 6, but you will find the K to 3s. So we will give you links for those at the end here of the ones that you can access right now, but they're not at the APLC site yet for those of you looking for them. but the K to threes are there for sure. At the end of every CPAR document, you will have a section on books and resources. And it looks something like this. So wherever we could, we had a whole team that was just working on this. Can we find books that would be helpful? When I found the books, I also looked to see if there was any YouTubes, any read alouds, any activity sheets. In other words, not everything has to be purchased. A number of these you absolutely can just click them on and use them. And that's where you'll see where I've got them on here. But we went through most of these books I have right now. I've already vetted them to make sure that they're a match for the grade that we have. And like I said, if you these are epic, right? So you don't have to buy these ones. They're already there. Some of these now that you are seeing in our list here in the CPAR document, Alberta Education has also approved as resources, and they are embedded in the resources when you go to the New Learn Alberta site. What they didn't do right up front, and that might be a little bit confusing, is they might have taken, let's say, out of Earth Cycles, they might have taken a page out of there because it related to what they were doing, and they posted the page. But it actually, the whole book is in there. You just have to look a little bit for when it says, show me the whole resource. But nonetheless, these are another place for you to go if you're trying to build your library a little bit, or you need something that you can take the kids to or let the kids go to on their own and read. I would encourage you to read them first, make sure they're a match to what you want. But there's a lot of resources here that you can use. And if your librarian is looking for them, we also built these, and this is why we set it up the way we did, because the librarians have been going in and using these parts of the pages. So these are the hardcover and soft cover and publisher of each of the books if they're looking for them. Any teacher-created resources, for the most part, are a Pearson product, and you can order them directly through Pearson, so we can get them from there as well. And there's, in some cases, tons of books. You can see there's lots for systems, and not so much in other ones. All right, that is kind of a CPAR document in a nutshell. Have the Stepping into Science been completed for 4 to 6? We have not heard. I did send an email last week and have not received a response to that. Stepping into Science, for those of you who don't know, was done for K to 3. And it was done as kind of packages and modules that you could use that covered the outcome. And they were developing them for 4 to 6, but I have not yet heard of the release date of those. And those would be other things that would be connected in here and put in. And you can Google Stepping into Science and it will come up. You'll see what it looks like if you have never seen one. Just check out the primary one and just see what they look like, so you'll know what's coming for the 4 to 6. All right, before we move on, are there any questions about the CPAR?
Chris, what I did was I jumped the gun. I was going to press return carriage to separate the links that I had in my that I posted in the chat. But there are 3 links there for grades 4, 5, and 6 Earth systems. If you want grades 1 to 3, they are available on the APLC website. These are not yet posted. They will be shortly in the next few days, as well as some other ones. But Chris did mention about some questions. Is this time to ask us right now? Or we will even, Chris, maybe provide, because those are in the link, maybe we can have people take 10 minutes or so to cruise through those that's appropriate for their grade. And then maybe we can reconvene in 10 minutes or so to see if there's any questions. Would that work? Or
Sure. Do
certainly
you have a link?
entertain
Can
some
you throw a link
questions.
into the chat box?
I just have the grades 4 to 6 Earth systems. And then when we come back, lots of questions. I also have some links for living systems and matter as well for grades 4 to 6. But
Oh,
yeah, we'll
okay.
give you a chance to explore these first, and then we'll throw the rest of the links into at the end of the session here.
So do you have them to put in the chat box, or do you want me
They're
to?
already in there. They're your systems one. They're already in there.
But they don't have this slide deck.
Not the slide deck, but the CPAR documents are there. Do you see in the chat? I have I've already posted grades 4 to 6 Earth Systems CPARs.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see that. It has already scrolled past me. Okay, my apologies. There you go.
Okay, that's
All right,
right.
so why don't we just give you some time to go through that first and just have a look. We don't have a ton of time. How about maybe just 5 minutes, pick a grade. If you're a grade 3 and down, you could go to the ones on the website. If you're not, then pick whatever grade you are.
And then we'll get the links for the other ones here just at the end of our session. As usual, we have a survey to do as well, so we'll get that out of the way as well. All right, while people are looking through that, Crystal, I'll get those other links set up here.
Okay.
Chris, what time does this session end? I think I've
Another 10 minutes.
okay. Yeah, I've miscalculated my time here, so
Yeah, we're good.
okay.
Oh, Brigitta, I see that you're on. If you can stay on at the end of this, that would be great.
Uh, Chris, I think the CPARs, I'm not too sure about the other ones, but certainly these science ones, I think the CPARs available only in English. Is that correct?
As far as I know, yes. I know that there are some being done in math in French already, but I'm not certain that they are done in science. Oh, Krista, that's a really good question. The French is always, you know what, Krista, I'm going to give you my email at the end. If you can send me requests, just say when are the French ones for CPARs, just so I remember. I will check with our consular and just see where we're at with that. And then I can send you an email back again. Okay, are there any other questions as you're kind of going through that? Is there anything that where would I find this? And I'll be honest with you, it may not be that you're going to come up with a question now. It might be when you start planning, go, where again was that? I don't even remember what that is. So don't hesitate to reach out to Ted and I, and we'll be glad to direct you in the right direction. And also, I want to say, we also have a lot of information that we've amassed over the time. If you are looking for something and you wanted to build a unit and you went to the CPAR and you just didn't see anything in there, send us an email and we may have it already sort of in our arsenal of things that we've collected that we can just share with you, or at least point you in the right direction. So please don't hesitate. Don't spend 2 hours surfing the web trying to find something and then you can't find it. Just save yourself a bit of time. We don't mind jumping in and helping where we can. If we can't find it, like I said, I have lots of favorite resource sites that I can always check out and see if there's something there that we could possibly send you, and we'll do that. So don't be shy about saving yourself some time. That's what we are here for.
Chris, maybe to just to allows more time for some questions and maybe um, before I share the other links, if we can go and have people work on that survey, we'd really appreciate your feedback. And as you, we're still open to answering any questions you have right now. Just because we're on the slide doesn't mean we won't answer any questions, but we would really appreciate if you, oh, we got to put the survey link in the chat
Yeah,
box, Chris.
it's in there.
There we go. Thanks. If you could do that, that would be great. And we just want to mention a couple more things. As Chris mentioned, feel free to email us. And Chris, I think when I say this, I think I'm speaking for you too. Quite often in the CPAR documents, because of such massive documents, some things get overlooked. So maybe there was a link that we forgot to double check to make sure it was still active or to make sure that it connected to the document that we wanted. If you're having problems with a link, don't hesitate to email Chris or I. And typically, if I get one even in the evening, I'll try to respond really quickly because I know you're probably working and you want to get an answer now and you're frustrated that link's not working. So don't hesitate to email us if there's a problem that you're having. Chris, I believe you're a late worker as well, and you respond to emails any time of the night as well.
Ted and I text each other at 2 o'clock in the morning, and that gives you any idea about what kind of weird hours we keep. But yeah, it is. We definitely would gladly welcome if you can tell us if there's a link that's broken. And we're finding now that even with the K to threes being posted for a while, now some of those sites are going down, or they changed, or the link just broke. So it's nice to hear that we can get that as well, right?
For sure. And in the chat, I'm putting a link to a document that has links to the living systems, CPARs 4 to 6, and Matter. When you open the document, you'll see that there is the links to the other two organizing ideas, space and energy, aren't there. They will be posted very soon, so keep checking at the APLC site for those. You'll see those appear very shortly as well. But I think those three CPARs are perhaps enough to get you going for this year, for starting your year with one of those three organizing ideas. If you're starting your year with either energy or space, let us know and we'll kind of give you at least sort of some tidbits of it before before we
Yeah, for
publish
sure.
it. So yeah, we won't leave you stranded, but we do want to make sure that things are in a good shape as possible before we share them publicly. So
Do we have a PDF link to give them for the slide deck?
well, I didn't because the slide deck is pretty straightforward. It has a surface deep transfer. But I could throw that in there if we want.
Yep, there's a request already. So
Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
Then I will get that done. And while we're doing that, Chris,
And again, as we mentioned, that the CPAR documents are quite large. So we understand that if you are just looking at them for the first time, um, there may not be questions right now. You might have them later, and that's fine, not to worry. I want to encourage you, there are some for math as well, and there are some for LA. So use those to your advantage. The math is set up the same way where we give you illustrative examples if you don't know how it should look. Here's some sample questions, that type of thing. So please feel free.
all right, the link is coming up here in Two Shakes of the Lamb's Tail. Oh, I just lost it, rats.
Oh,
Um, come on.
thanks, Jordan. Now you know all the links that you have to fix.
Um, and here's the link to the slide deck. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Hopefully that gives you some insights as to what this document is all about. We know they're big, but truthfully, between the videos and the CPAR document, honestly, I can't imagine you having to go anywhere else for resources. Just start there and save yourself some surfing time and maybe buying time for packages from Teacher Pay Teacher, because again, they have to be that deep level, and that's what we're not seeing from those packages. So lots of stuff here for you. Thanks so much. Thanks, Ted. Enjoyed
Thanks,
being with
everyone.
you.
Thank you, Chris. Bye, everyone. you have any more sessions today, Chris? Are you still recording?
I'm just going to turn it off. Yeah, I do.